For more than 14 years, Sandy Stadler has been superintendent of Palo Alto Animal Services, which is located on East Bayshore Road and serves Palo Alto, Mountain View, Los Altos, and Los Altos Hills. Their paid staff and volunteers take in more than 3,000 animals each year, including cats, dogs, roosters, fish, rabbits, and more. Well over half are returned to their owners, and almost all of the rest find new homes. Sandy, how did you come to choose this career?
I think the career chose me. Like many high schoolers, you have this dream. I was going to be a forest ranger on a horse, going through the wilderness, and how beautiful. And from that, I got into wildlife rescue. And wildlife rescue and rehabilitation is how I entered into the Humane Society life. And I did that for about 15 years. And then I wanted to do a little bit more. I wanted to be part of the decision making. So I got into administration and kind of away from wildlife, and now I've been here running this shelter for about 14 years.
Well, if there's wildlife, how much wildlife comes through?
It's a little different at Palo Alto because we have a wildlife rescue group called they're called Wildlife Rescue. It's very clever. And they take care of all the wildlife, but we pick them up and we transport them. And it's between 1,500 and 2,000 a year. And most of them are young. Most of them are baby birds, baby squirrels, ducklings, things like that.
What's a day in the life here at Palo Alto Animal Services?
Well, funny you should ask, because I think when we talk about why we don't ever mind coming to work, it's that there is no average day. I mean, I will sometimes be driving in my car and, okay, I'm going to get this done today, and I'm making that mental list of what you have to get done. And when you walk through the doors, the day is decided for you. I mean, here's a litter of 6 animals, we've got a cruelty case, or this person got bit, and it takes on a life of its own. And so your day kind of forms around you, and you have to be reactive rather than proactive. But at the end of the day, you're just rejuvenated and you're tired, but it feels good.
There must be patterns of how animals come into the shelter.
Certainly.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. And that's where our animal control comes in. I mean, animal control will pick up strays, they will pick up injured and sick, and we will get animals that way. We also are a sanctuary, is how I like to call it, for people who cannot care for their pets anymore. And when you look at what's happening around us with the economy, we are definitely seeing an increase in people who make a very emotional decision. Sometimes that decision's made for them as well, and they have to give up their pets. And when they walk in those doors, all of us who work here, there's never any guilt. I mean, it's a hard decision to come by, and we know once they walk in here, they've already probably exhausted every other aspect that they could, from family members to maybe even ads in the newspaper. And we want them to know that they've made the right decision. I mean, don't dump them and don't give them to someone who doesn't want them. That's what we're here for. And sometimes they leave and they're rather surprised that they weren't berated.
Well, it sounds like you have a very high success rate of placing animals that come in and that are available for adoption.
We feel that we do. We feel that we do.
And so what percentage are?
Of the animals that come in that are adoptable, we're nearly 100%. And that is our goal. And that is the goal of actually all the county shelters. We've got an alliance going on that we just started.
But it sounds like much higher than the national average?
Well, the national average is dismal. And the shelters throughout the country are not as lucky. Apparently in the Bay Area especially, resources are given to animal shelters, and animal welfare and the very thought that animals are a part of a family and a healthy part of a child's life, it's not a new concept, but it is a concept that is accepted here. So we don't have to fight that battle. They're a member of the family and should be treated as such.
Do you ever have to reject a family? Does a family come in and want to adopt that you don't feel is suitable?
Absolutely. And we're very frank with why, and the answer that we sometimes give them to make it feel a little better is that not only are you picking an animal, but the animal needs to pick you. And it's our job to be their advocate.
So what's the hardest aspect of what you do? What's the thing that's just wrenching?
Well, you know, most people would expect me to say the euthanasia. And I have to tell you, the hardest thing for me is people who don't care. It's the apathy. It's the animals that come in and are in horrendous condition, and somebody has allowed them to get like that. And that eats away at me more than, you know, a humane death.
So how about those humane deaths? I mean, how does it feel when you have to put an animal down?
It's never good. And if it ever becomes so easy, I do believe I would tell a staff person that they've probably either been at it too long or it's not their job. I mean, it should never be easy. But we're a little different also in that everybody here plays a role in it. It's not just, in some of the bigger shelters there will be like euthanasia technicians. What a horrible job. But here everybody shares it.
If you could kind of click your heels and have things change somehow with I don't know what you call them, pet owners, is there another more politically correct term? Pet owners. But pet owners, what would you hope that they would do differently?
Oh, you know, I would think that's a big question, but what jumps into my mind? I think the first thing is that they have their animals spayed or neutered. Because if we're still dealing with unwanted litters, then we haven't done our job yet. Because spaying and neutering. Planned pethood. Exactly, I love it. Can we use that? Planned pethood, that's great. But it's just such a simple solution, and it doesn't hurt anybody. And why not?
Is it free?
No, it's not free, but it's low cost here. Mm-hmm. In fact, in Palo Alto, again, this community was way ahead of its time. In 1970, they opened the first municipally funded low-cost spay and neuter clinic.
So what about trends? What are you seeing in terms of, you know, are people getting more pets? Are they, you know, what? You've been here for a long time.
It has been interesting. Well, again, we talk about that a lot.
Interesting in exotic animals?
No, we're really not. In fact, the exotic animals have almost disappeared. And part of that is laws. You know, they're just not easy to come by. What we're seeing.
What's an example of an exotic?
Oh, a binturong, a kinkajou, a hedgehog, things that, a monkey.
Hedgehog.
All of these at one point you could purchase and bring in. I mean, normally they weren't for sale in California, but people would bring them in. I mean, even lions and tigers and maybe a bear, I don't know.
Time here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They've come in when people decided they couldn't have them anymore?
Either that or somebody has found that they have them because they've never really been able to. Right. And yeah, they don't stay here very long.
So you're not seeing that?
We see none. Mostly we're seeing dogs and cats, and the little, what we call pocket apartment pets are on the rise. And I think that's indicative of people having to rent and not having a lot of space. So
What's a pocket?
A guinea pig, a hamster, a rat.
So you also said that you don't have any kittens now, but in a month you're going to be just overflowing with kittens, and you hope that these cats right here are going to be in good homes by then, so that there's room for the kittens.
Kitten season. You know, everybody loves a kitten, and if there's one thing that, you know, they're the awe factor because they are so cute and they are so funny to watch. But cats never have just one, or at least not very often. And the females right now, they have a 2-month gestation. They're out there. It's springtime. It only takes one male cat to get many females pregnant, and when those babies start coming in, they come in droves. Now, once we get them, they can't legally even be spayed or neutered or adopted until they're 2 months old. So, you know, they just start growing in numbers, and then you have dozens for adoption, and you don't have dozens of people coming in every day to adopt them.
And you have a Facebook page as well.
Right. We have a Facebook page, and we have a Twitter. Yeah, we're trying to stay up. It does. In fact, Facebook seems to be where it's at now, and the web page. Yeah, I mean, the people are going online, and that's how they're doing their initial shopping for pets. I mean, I will get calls, you know, okay, we're online, we see this animal, is it still there? And I think, wonderful, why not?
So you do also provide many other services here. I mean, you've got the spay neuter clinic, you do the licensing and put chips in. What other things do you do?
We have a low-cost vaccination clinic, which, again, sign of the times. Used to be that we'd have a few dozen people smatter in. We do it once a week for an hour. Now our vaccination clinic is lasting about an hour and 45 minutes. There's no parking in the parking lot. And I guess, again, you know, just economic times, it's just so popular. But we do the adoptions, we do behavior counseling. People will call and have questions, and our staff, if you put together the years that they have experience, it's probably 150 years combined.
So this is free dog psychology, or cat,
pretty much,
or any animal.
Yep. Yep.
I could use that sometime.
So can I, actually. I use it too. But we have a little pet store, pet supply store, and we have the microchipping, of course, which we really push. I mean, that is a free trip home. You know, there's no excuse.
As long as you register the
Yes,
chip.
As long as you register the chip. It is, yes, tell everybody, it is worthless if your name is not associated with the microchip number.
Well, can you share a story with a really happy ending?
Oh, many. Well, yes, we had a little dog who came in who was hit by a car. And she had a fractured pelvis, and she was not using her front leg, but very sweet, a spaniel mix. Most of our animals are mutts of some kind. And the wonderful community service officer from the city of Mountain View who found her kept calling, and how is she doing? And we have a wonderful vet staff here. That's another thing that we're very blessed with. And our vet could see that this was a nice dog, and a fractured pelvis, it takes cage rest. It's not an operation. You just have to let it heal on its own. The front leg was going to be problematic, and so we have again, we network, and we went to a local vet who is a bone specialist, and we said, can you take some x-rays and see where we're going with this? And so he took x-rays, and he says, well, the pelvis is healing, but that's an old fracture in front, and that leg is bad, and it really should be amputated. You know, so we waited until the pelvis healed, and then our vet amputated the front leg, which she wasn't using it anyway because it was so painful. And lo and behold, that person who had been keeping tabs on her came back in, fostered her after the operation, said, oh, I'll just keep her for a little bit. Well, she never went back home. And, you know, it's just wonderful. They bonded out there, and we didn't have to go any farther than the person who fell madly in love with her.